A little background on our Mi'kmaq History Month poster. So personally, I've been involved with the development of the poster for the last 20 years. So in 1998, we felt we needed to have more Mi'kmaq input into the poster design, and we were able to do that. For the last 12 years, we've been fortunate to partner with Gerald. Gerald was a previous employee of the Department of Natural Resources. We were able to second him over to our Mi'kmaq Diverse Cultural Center project, and with his many skills, we were able to get a lot of his artistic ideas into the poster, but not only artistic, but a lot of his knowledge that he has to share through visual means. So we want to take this time today to just give you a little background, but also get your input into how we can focus on language for the 2019 poster. So we don't really have a lot of ideas yet, so we're hoping this group here can help us. So, Gerald.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for attending. And again, we're talking about the Mi'kmaq History Month poster. Started way back in 1993 with Premier John Savage and our former Grand Chief Ben Silvoy declaring October as the month to declared for the celebration of Mi'kmaq culture. And it's a 26th anniversary this year, 2019. And every October we celebrate Mi'kmaq History Month by providing the schools with the Mi'kmaq History Month poster. And originally, when it was set up, it was basically a poster that was designed to acknowledge Mi'kmaq History Month and Treaty Day celebrations. And so some of the earlier posters were just images. And there was a theme that had run continuously year after year, which was reflections of the past, realities of the present, and dreams of the future. And you'll see that basically on a lot of the Mi'kmaq History Month posters in its early years. And some of the images, like I say, coming from everywhere, mainland, from Onamagi, to even the people and the families, that expression, those were just basically images that we shared. It wasn't until that I started back in 2005 that we got looking at it as a committee saying, this is a perfect opportunity to put Mi'kmaq knowledge in the school system. So what we did was we chose a different theme every year, and we took that to the schools. This poster was a poster that I did actually on a sick day. It was back in 2012. Our poster was Numsit Nogama. I called Tim at work at about 8:30 in the morning. I said, buddy, I ain't coming in today. I said, I'm sick as a dog. And he said, I've got a Mi'kmaq History Month poster meeting tomorrow, and I wanted something to show them. So I said, okay, I'll see what I can do. So I started painting this at home. And I painted from 9 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock that night. That's 14 hours, and it's basically 2 days of work to paint all these different images for the poster. So that was the one that year. It didn't change too much, with the exception of one. But it talked about all the Mi'kmaq clans and the different families and the animals that were represented, as well as the 6 worlds that we had: the world underwater, the world underground, the world on the ground, the world on the ground but below the treetops, the sky world and the spirit world. And just talk about me being a gluk, a wolfish, coming from the water world, and Tim being a Wukwis. It's like the Bernard clan coming from on land. And the layers between the ground and the trees, that's where spiders spin their webs. That's where the squirrels run through the branches. That's where a lot of the birds that live their nest. So there was a lot that we had to offer there, and a lot of research and contributions from every community had come in. And we even opened at the end of the poster, it said, like, do you want to make further contributions for anything that's not on this poster, so that we could build this names list. And we got quite a few people that followed up on it. So we could revisit that again even. One of the most popular ones. Even back in 2017, when we were celebrating Canada's 115th birthday, we look back 50 years to when Canberra was celebrating its 100th birthday back in 1969, and that group of men from Bordeaux and beyond, even a lot of the other communities here in Unamagi, building a birch bark canoe and taking that canoe from Chapel Island all the way to Montreal. You know? And that ended up on one of the centerpieces of the poster during our Reconciliation Resilience, where we celebrated all the things that we are claiming again and doing. Like, you know, a lot of those things we were forbidden to participate in, and now it's a big part of our culture again. Even talking about the game of lacrosse, which came back, a group of kids in the community of Millbrook started a lacrosse team and competed in the provincial lacrosse organization. And out of 22 teams, the first year, they finished in the middle of the pack at 11th place. The second year, they won the Nova Scotia Provincials. So it was like, it didn't take them long to reclaim the game and to show people that they're definitely serious about it. Even a celebration of the Indigenous culture, this was an international theme. And it was the International Year of Light and Light-Based Technology. So we took a lot of our traditional and ecological knowledge that had the embedding of light, lightning, fishing by light. We just had a session with Ernest Johnson, and Ernest had a lot of the animals that he had on there. And I was contributing, and Ernest said, "Turn Gerald's phone off. He's cheating. He knows all the answers." So yeah, there's nothing more cultural than a Mi'kmaq sense of humor. So people didn't get that joke. And even, oh, I see Aid coming to my assistance here. Yeah. That's how I fix it. It works at home. We have a moment of silence, please, for our television. Right. Thank you very much for trying to fix it. Yeah. But even when we were looking at Mi'kmaq History Month posters in the past, I had this painting in my repertoire, and Tim picked it up and said he liked the colors, he liked the idea. He said, "What's the name of this painting, Gerald?" And I said, "It's called Talking to the Moon." And it refers to the 13 moons that we have in our ecological calendar, and how each moon is describing something that goes on in the environment during that time period. That was basically our ecological calendar. Tim said, "All right, we're going to use that for the background." And that was the poster back there on Audubon and communications. We talked about the hieroglyphic symbols, the petroglyph symbols, our legends and oral histories, as well as even stories of the night sky. And a lot of people, when they saw that picture, they're saying, "Is that Tokyo? Is that William Herney Jr.?" My sister was dating him at the time. And so I was like, "No, that's not Tokyo." It's like I got him basically, I found this picture on the internet, flipped it over, and did this painting of this younger man. But you can see where I got the reference on. So, no, it's not Tokyo. But he's still a good friend of mine. He has taught me and showed me a lot of people. This was the one that we just did last year, and even doing all the different versions of it. It's not usually one thing and just go with it. You definitely, creative part comes with the entire community as well as the committee, and even our Elders Advisory Council. There's a lot of people take hands. Oh, this guy's serious. No.
Not today.
Not today.
Too much to do. I need to get you to hold it up a little bit.
From the ones in the back. You hold it up. The little guy. But, yeah. I think you can still see though, right? It's not that bad. Not that bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
There you go. Little buttons and a hot dog. There you go. Electronic hot dog TV. Now, some of you people in the back definitely can't see. Well, thank you very much. But yeah, definitely a little bit better for those who can see it. But again, the Mi'kmaq History Month poster last year celebrating the 100th anniversary of World War I and the Mi'kmaq contributions that we played, doing illustrations of the 3 prominent soldiers that have been highly decorated on the poster, and using an old black and white photograph because that was 100 years ago. They didn't have colored photography. So just using these images in the back. Now, this goes to a lot of the Mi'kmaq Bird Cultural Center as well, and our staff. And Trevor Gould is one of our members there. He's saying, "No, those guys don't even look too Ilnu. Like, you know, they look a lot like Lakota or Dakota." It's like, you know, you got to change it up a bit. So I changed the faces to look more Mi'kmaq. And when I pulled this guy's face off and literally ripped the head off of a previous illustration that I had on Atlatl, and the weapon that we used and the hunting device that we used before the bow and arrows. This gentleman here was actually, as part of the Numsen Nogama poster, he was right straight on the back and he talked about Jinu, the giant, the Alex family. And Tim's like, "Yeah, see that one? Take that off. That's going to scare small kids." So he didn't want the giant scaring the kids. So he was taken off of the poster. And this guy, I don't know where I found him from. But some of the people definitely recognize him. But that's my brother Gary. And he did a few movies with Disney, and part of the Squanto Legends, Tales, and even Scarlet Letter. He was one of the natives who ran in the background. So you can see my brother on a Disney movie for like 15 seconds as he runs down. But still, that was his claim to fame. And I threw him on the poster as well. The original background of the poster was going to be red, celebrating Remembrance Day and the poppy. And this is what the poster was going to look like. And then they're like, "No, we're going to use the Vimy Ridge Monument and the 100th anniversary." So we wanted to look like granite. So we changed the coloration of just the background. So all these contributions are taken into consideration. We don't just produce a poster and hand it to you guys. We definitely look for our major contributions. And even the fact that that poster is produced in English, it's produced in Mi'kmaq, and it's now produced in French. So it does go to the French Acadian schools. So that's the English and that's the French version. And that's something that's new just within the last couple of years. These posters are available from the Mi'kmaq History Month website online, and you can download PDFs and print them off. But this year, 2019, as Tim said in the introduction, it's International Year of Indigenous Languages. So that's where we're going to go with this year's poster. Basically started off with that red background that I liked so much last year. And I thought I was going to change it up. As this year it's a square poster, I think it's 24 by 24. I basically put an antique background on it, and then I tilted it. So your poster's not going to go edge to edge, it's going diagonally. And of course the Mi'kmaq History Month crest that's going to be on it. The acknowledgement of Indigenous Year, our International Year of Indigenous Languages will appear on the poster. And this is the committee that we're talking about when we're meeting. It's federal, it's provincial, it's Mi'kmaq. And it comes from the different organizations and groups that we even have. The Mi'kmaq Grand Council, the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq, the Mi'kmaq Association of Cultural Studies, MAX, and the Union of Nova Scotia Indians, Chief Wilbur Marshall, who's running around here somewhere. And he's the lead chief of Culture and Heritage Portfolio for the Assembly of Mi'kmaq Chiefs of Nova Scotia. Yeah. There we go. And again, the provincial government with education, Aboriginal affairs, community, culture, and heritage. The tripartite forum through the federal government, provincial government, and Mi'kmaq government. Federal government through Aboriginal Affairs in Northern Development Canada, and Mi'kmaq Kinamatnue is MK, of course, we'll remember too right here. And Quimakmak Negotiation, that's the legal rights group out of Millbrook, that's the Power Center. And the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center here in Halifax. Friendship Center actually represents some 7,500 Aboriginal people, but they're not all Mi'kmaq. From different nations, and it's definitely one of the largest Mi'kmaq groups. I think Eskasoni's got the largest Mi'kmaq population of about 6,000. Halifax houses 7,000 Indigenous people. And again, the Nova Scotia Native Women's Association, which is changing up quite a bit. It's getting quite a few members coming and going out of there. So we'll see who's going to be representing the community on that bunch. But this is basically what the poster looks like with some of the elements. Even throwing those logos and sponsors right on the poster that we have every year. We're definitely going digital with our, Facebook, Twitter, and whatever that icon is. I don't know. But yeah, we definitely have an internet presence as well as the website. And another thing is the Smith Francis orthography. We thought it would be important to have that right smack dab on the poster, is the letters and the pronunciation of things, especially for a lot of the people who can see a word, but they're applying English rules to the pronunciation, and they're off. And I'm a singer myself. I'm terrible with reading, writing, and spelling. But again, following these rules definitely falls in. So throwing that on the poster. Another thing is the 4 directions, seeing that it was almost cultural when we pray, when we acknowledge a lot of things of the Creator. I thought it would be important for the children to know the names of those 4 directions. And even some of the animals that Ernest talked about in his presentation, baptism, the coyote, the one who echoes, karibu, it's like the one who shovels. This is Mi'kmaq. This is that verb-based language, and like Ernest said in the last session, a verb basically evokes an image inside your head. When you hear a word in Mi'kmaq and you understand it, it creates that picture. He said the Mi'kmaq were the first ones to say, "I see what you're saying." And that's exactly what a verb does. And so I thought introducing some of that would definitely highlight the fact that it is a word-based language, and it shows people that it takes the definition to a different level, a higher level of understanding when you imagine what you hear. And that's definitely important. Pardon? Oh, they said, Ernest, they belong to the same family. There's a lot of family groups, Baptism and Coyote, Wolf and Coyote, they both have that same attribute, howling, and that's how they got, and why they got their name. So
the voters can have that same. Put slash on your Coyote.
Or go first, because we almost know.
All right. Yeah.
Coyote.
Will do. See, that's the contribution. But again, so this is what the poster was sort of shaping up to, but this isn't carved in stone. You guys could contribute things that will take it in a whole new direction. It's like, no, this is just us throwing together some of the ideas that we present, and then from there it sort of takes shape. So who knows what it's actually going to look like after you guys get your hands on it and get to making some contributions. And that's basically what we're here for today. That part of the presentation and just talking openly like you just did, and like, you know, made a change already. And that's what I'm hoping to get from the rest of you guys too.
I don't like the colors.
You don't like the frame? Okay. Yeah.
Big oral, big.
Big old, yeah. Who is it?
I'm saying incorporate the 4 sacred colors.
Yes.
That's human high.
But
Right.
the native symbol, the symbols instead of that border would be better. But,
Right.
you know, how
Like
the
hieroglyphic symbols or,
around the
yeah,
border would be better.
excellent. Yeah, we're going.
That means,
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
hey, Gerald, there's one direction that you'll hear the older people talk about, and I can never remember if it's northeast, but Senosapno. You guys heard that word? Senosapno, high school. But it's one that I used to hear the elders say all the time. But I have those other ones that are in between, I'll give them to you, northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest.
Right. The mid part of it.
Yeah, but
Excellent.
that Senosapno is something that I remember elders always saying, because they were concerned about the winds that come from there.
Right.
So that was important.
Yeah, it is important because, like I said, you don't travel in four diagonal directions. There are combinations. Wonderful example of that is when we were looking at doing a presentation on Pictou landing. We went back to Department of Natural Resources and we pulled up all these aerial photographs. And they take these aerial photographs every 5 years. So we could go back in time until the 1940s. And so when you're looking at Pictou landing from the 1940s, you see all the houses around the island. It's sort of like a circle. And in the middle of it, there was a definite spider web. Little lines going from each one of the houses out. And when we were looking at this image from an aerial view, we were like, what's that? And it's like, those are paths. Those were the path to somebody else's house. And they just ran right straight from point A to point B on every direction and from every household to another house. It was amazing. You know, and then you'd see this little square box and you'd see a circle around it. And it was so graphic, like, you know, this little square with a circle complete around it. Like, what's that? That's a dog house. And he was on a chain. And that's all that was going on. So there's a lot of information that we're pulling on.
was a dog in there?
Sure, there was a dog. Yeah, so thank you very much for those additional contributions. And like I said, please feel free to openly share. Like I said, four directions is definitely good. For sacred colors is definitely another one. So yeah, get rid of that red. Don't like the red. Don't like the yes.
And the four directions would be nice in hieroglyphs.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If we have them, that would be perfect. Yeah, and don't be shy. Like, throw things out there. Yeah.
Emphasize the number 4 too, in significance.
Right, and that's why I thought even changing it on the alternate would do that one to the tips. But yeah, definitely. There's 4 seasons, 4 cycles of life, 4 sacred colors, 4 directions. Like, there's so much that 4. And then even having a little paragraph on that, the importance or significance of it. That could definitely be a big part of the poster. We're throwing these out to elementary school, junior high, high school. Like, you know, these are where this information belongs, and that's where it should be. Yes, sir.
What about just like pictures, Mi'kmaq ways of being and knowing? You know, I feel like there's still a big gap with spirituality.
Right.
You know, so something in there that encompasses, you know, maybe a picture that for those 4 pieces, the mental, the physical, the emotional,
Right.
the spiritual, right?
And again, through hieroglyphic symbols for each of those, we could probably create something that would represent that. Yeah. Oh, Jeff Ward, I haven't heard a word from him. I know.
Minimum greatness.
Oh, I know, right? That's oh. Anyone else want to throw something out there, please?
What about like Saborno, like
Yeah, past, present, future. That's almost like the old one that we started off with, right? So that's kind of cool too. Bring that back. Things have a habit of returning and going full circle in cycles. So. Cycles and circles, pattern recognition is another important part of our culture. And the tenses of things, they indicate that too. Like, you know, things are always in a constant state of flux. That is a very important concept in Mi'kmaq education as well as language. It's like things like your pants. Your pants are not red. Your pants are in the process of being red. They were redder before, they'll be less red in the future. It's like that concept is important, it's like that constant state of change. So, yeah?
With that, we talk about the colors, the 4 colors. Like, to me, my medicine wheel is above me. Like, when the sun comes up, it's yellow. When it sets in the west, it's red. We have a blue sky and white clouds.
Right.
Black is very sacred, used in death ceremonies. So, and the concept of the medicine wheel colors, black, white, red, which I have on my shirt.
Right.
It's very popular. But to the ceremonial people, and as you mentioned earlier, to the people that are very attend many ceremonies, black only comes out in death ceremony, and we use blue, a blueberry blue, a really dark blue. And I went to the museum in Ottawa, and I saw our baskets. Before 1300, before contact, the early baskets, there's no black in there.
No.
There's none.
The dyes that we had were coming from elderberry and they were coming from birch bark.
Like a
And the
blueberry
thing is,
blue?
when a birch tree rots, it rots from the inside out as opposed to any other tree. Any other tree will rot from the outside in. But birch will rot from the inside out. When it gets to that really pulpy part, you can take it out, you can boil it, and you can extract the dyes from there, and the color is dark bluish purple, almost like a dark blueberry. And that's where it's getting this from, is from birch bark. Doesn't look black or doesn't look that color, but it is when it's boiled. So that's a good one too.
I just
Yeah, no, you're cool. That's all. Yes.
It'd be nice if you had like one for conjugated, like every 10 past, just one.
Right.
So you'll see all the different tenses that we use.
Right.
Just like one verb.
Yeah, just demonstrate how you do.
How different ways.
Posters not big enough.
Huh?
Posters not big enough.
I know, but it'd be nice,
It's 24 by 24 right now. If you want to go 36 by 36, you got to talk to Tim.
But just in the present tense,
Just poster dimensions.
it's
But you
28
should have a
different
one
ways.
Yeah.
for the whole year, especially like this Indigenous year, right?
Right.
It should have been done like monthly, and then you could, each person had like just a year, different ideas. If you guys did it like month by month for the whole year, you probably could have got more info, you know what I mean?
We do have that ecological calendar, which is month for month. It has all of the representation of the 12 months that we have today. It's not a full 13 Mi'kmaq month, but it shows the name of the moon. And another thing is, Mi'kmaq have indicators that go on at the same time. It's not just one thing a month. There's other things that key it. Like when you see strawberry blossoms, you go fishing, because you know that one thing is connected and everything is connected to the environment. That poster is already out there, and that's a big one. That might be 48 by 48. It's pretty huge. And like I said, that had a lot of major contributions, and even the Unama'ki Institute of Natural Resources played a big part of that, and the Elders Advisory Council in Cape Breton. So we really feel their thunder.
I think one of the things that we are challenged with is the poster is only so big, and how to get enough information on it. And I'm glad to see Jacob's listening over there, because we've been partnering with the Department of Education, Early Education, and through Mi'kmaq Services, they've been supporting the work of the poster, and every year it comes up, what about supplementary material, right? But our challenge is already to get the poster into, 8,000 students' hands, not in the students' hands, but into the school. So we print 8,000 of these posters, distribute them not only to Nova Scotia schools, mainly it's the provincial school system, Nova Scotia, but some go throughout all of Mi'kmaq, so they're into Newfoundland and Brunswick and into PEI. But the focus has been coming from Nova Scotia for the most part. So our challenge is just that, is the posters, you'll have 24 inches by 24 inches of what's the bang of the message. And I don't know where I was, Gerald, but I saw a quote, and I thought, oh, that's cool. I said, and this was by Roger Paul, I'm not sure who Roger Paul is, but his words were, when you speak in our language, you are describing the world the way our ancestors saw it. So I thought that was a powerful message, and I'm thinking, you know, maybe through words, through, you know, some type of quotes. So I just wanted to throw that into the mix, that don't look at this as the only way of educating your classes, your students for Mi'kmaq History Month, but there's other ways to, you know, create supplementary material. I think that is an opportunity, and yeah, Gerald mentioned to create the size. So I just, not that money's an issue, but just to do this poster, 3 languages, in total there's probably 12,500 posters, cost over $24,000 to print them and to distribute them to all the schools. And that's not including like the time that Gerald and I and the team puts into it.
Start selling them.
Well, another thing was getting together with that committee of people that have representations in the room. We threw together, I think 3 years ago, it was 2017, and the rest of Canada was celebrating its 150th birthday, and we didn't go with that theme that year. It's like, that's your party, that's not ours. We've been here for longer than that. So, you know, we don't always go with the theme of the year. But again, we were looking at a 5-year plan that said, what are we going to do for the next 5 years? And even looking back at some of the past ones, we did like the birch bark canoe and how it progresses. We did one on basketry and all the steps and all the tools. We did one on quill work, and again, all the steps and all the tools. We haven't done one on beadwork, you know, and definitely part of it. That could be another poster in future years. We talked about Ernest Johnson's presentation on animals and how animals got their names. I mean, kids love animals, right? So we thought of doing that kind of poster. And again, even enhancing the ecological calendar is getting into that pattern recognition and how everything is patterns. We were thinking about another one on night sky stories. There was many ideas thrown out there. But this year was International Year of Indigenous Languages. This is Oldumi Sultanage. This is our Mi'kmaq Language Speakers Education Conference. We thought perfect opportunity to marry the two and produce something bang on this year. So, yeah. Our website is definitely mi'kmoydebert.com. We do have a presence online, and if you want to send any contributions to our website, please feel free. Today's not just your opportunity. We'll be working on this poster until about July before we get it out there for final production and layout and even translation from English to Mi'kmaq and French as well. So you still got some time, you know, it's only May, so please feel free to contribute. So anybody else want to say anything? Yes?
I'm thinking of our language keepers, our ancestors that always promote the Mi'kmaq language, either through hymns or prayers or speakers or something along that line. And I don't know, so 2 women or 2 men, which might be prominent.
Right.
Always encourage the language.
Definitely. Or even an elder and a child. Yeah.
I wanted gender balance.
Gender balance.
I guess, Patsy, for
Elder woman, young boy.
when we look at that as an opportunity and to make that decision, to make those choices, that's the difficult part, because as soon as we put it out there, people say, well, what about this person? And what about my grandmother? What about my great-grandparent? And that's always been an issue for us, is picking who goes on the poster. Sean Cat earlier said, I'm here to go on the poster, but so we kind of tended to get away a little bit from people on the poster, and we kind of try to make it an educational piece that the teachers and the system could use. And that's probably been the last 10 years, I think, Gerald, that we've really focused around that.
Well, the trouble with that is, even when you do a non-generic person like this man in the one for talking to the moons, and people thinking it was Tokyo, I was like, you know, you'll never get away from that, because you create a figure that looks like someone who's Olno and looks like someone who's Mi'kmaq. Someone's going to say, man, that looks just like my uncle or my cousin. Or, you know, there'll be somebody associated with that poster. Yeah.
I like your vision, Gerald, just add on to that, like having a picture of modern day elder speaking Mi'kmaq to modern day child kind of thing.
I'm totally passing.
And having that idea, right, of like, not just in the past, that we're like present too, right?
Yeah.
And that transfer of knowledge and wisdom from the elder to the child, just adding on to that.
That's how it lasted this long. Like I said, generational. So, yeah, that's a great one.
I think the other piece that we wanted to look to enhance at some point is not everybody gets the luxury to listen to Gerald and how the vision has come to life, and I think that's a component that we're missing, is, you know, having Gerald pop up on your screen and tell a little bit about how the vision became a reality in terms of putting the poster together. So that would be something I think that we'd be interested in, Gerald, is sort of videotaping you and putting you up on Mi'kmaq History Month website.
Right. Oh. Oh, yeah.
That was my question. Yeah. So as educators or language knowledge keepers, is there anything that you know, you guys want to share with us in terms of how we could make the poster better? It doesn't have to be specifically for this one, but you know, in the future years, is there something that say, oh, I wish they did this with the poster? And we're basically doing it through committee. We have probably the next couple of years worth of ideas. We sat through a planning session last year. I think we came up with like 7 years of planning, but we're not setting stone on anything. And when opportunities arise, like the Indigenous Year of Languages, we thought it was a good fit. We did Indigenous, we did the Year of Veterans. We did one back in 2005. Last year with the celebration around the end of, or the war, World War I. That was a challenge. Getting a lot of 100-year-old pictures is a challenge. So, but we were able to get a third of the images. So we're fortunate that our boss Don was working on researching those veterans. So, any other thoughts, ideas? I know there's other sort of.
Yeah.
Well, I don't exactly like the idea of a square.
Right.
Because
Circle.
our Aboriginal culture and language is circular.
Yeah.
It's not a unit. And it goes, to me, that square goes right against my language
Right.
and
Okay.
my culture. Because
That
I
makes
think
sense.
circular.
Right.
I don't think.
It's not linear.
No,
It's
it's
inclusive
circular.
of everything in the, around you.
Right on.
And around it is
Even the
around
months
you.
of the year in my head are circular.
Right.
They don't work December, they don't work.
No.
They work circular.
Yeah. Pattern. Yeah.
Do you have to get permission when you're taking pictures from places?
Like, just for reference material?
Yeah.
The Nova Scotia Guild of Artists says if I take an image for reference, if I change it 25%, it automatically becomes yours. So images I never pluck and steal 100%. I'll make changes. I'll chuck somebody's body on. I'll throw somebody's head. I'll mix 2 or 3 things to make something. It's like, it's just, all it is food or fodder for your imagination. It's never 100% of what you do. I had one there during the Reconciliance and Resilience, and one of the mothers said, "You put my daughter on the poster," and it had a little girl in her dancing in her regalia, but I changed her regalia and I moved her face, but she was familiar with the pose. And the little girl's hand, one was up, one was down. Elder Dougie Knockwood said, "Put both hands up like an eagle." And so I make these changes so that way I can avoid copyright limitations. So yeah, and things are always changed or combined. You know. And yeah. Oh yeah. And again, when you see an image, that's just a version. It's like 10,000 variations of a theme. When I see something, I see the other 9,999 things it could have been. So that's where I go. It's like, I don't produce things one-on-one. Not even Tokyo. Yeah. But yeah, anything else? Quietest bunch here, I bet.
We're thinking.
I was thinking about the word like Somalia, like sprouting from the
Right.
ground.
Yeah.
I remember
but just
Bernie
kind of-
saying that this chief, he sent a letter to Cornwallis, and he said that this is like we sprouted from this ground, that's how old we are.
Right.
I was thinking like, I love that.
Everything that we had comes from nature. Even when I was going to school, they told me that Christopher Columbus sailed here in the year 1492. So he was looking for a shortcut to India. He found us and called us Indians. And Jaime Batiste, in his research for treaty education, was saying, that's not right. 1492, there was no country on the planet Earth called India. It was Hindustan. These were Hindis. Another thing was Christopher Columbus was Portuguese. He spoke the Spanish language. The word that he gave us when he arrived here was Indios. And in the Spanish language, Indios means these are children of God. They come from the earth. They come from nature. Everything about them is natural. That's a heck of a lot different than being called Indian. So being called Indios. Yeah, that's right. We need to find that's what. Yeah, and it's the same thing with the French with savage. Someone calls you a savage, that's a very negative connotative word, but that's the English interpretation of savage. The French called us sauvage, but French, sauvage means they can survive without nothing. And that's a compliment. Sauvage. But it's natural, right? Yeah, the berries, the trees. Yeah. No, you go to the museums, you'll see that was definitely our traditional color. In the past, everything was done with natural dyes, and that was a very, very strong part. I was gonna say door prize. I was gonna say, you know, the door prize were already won. So what's your number?
Skating anyway.
What are we giving out?
Apple Watch, Apple TV.
This is for the 4 o'clock drop.
Oh.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to put a load in my pocket.
Yeah. But he's family, so I gotta look over.
Yeah, certainly. Right. Well, we did one with the yeah, the basket one was actually circle. It was produced on that, but it cost a lot of money to imprint the cut them in circles. So what we did was we just put a lot of circles, we put cut them on one. You go to some places and it's but other ones have circles. But yeah. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Circle cycle. Yeah. 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 I got a 4-month-old grandbaby. Yeah. Definitely. I got a 2.5-year-old granddaughter named Nina. Like that. There is a Mi'kmaq History Month website, and they are on there. I think it's part of Office of Aboriginal Affairs. Yeah. Oh. Okay. No, these people are. I think they're in front.
So, yeah, they're online, right, but you're not going to get a 20 by 24, right?
Yeah, we're done, 145. We're good. Yeah.
Okay, we're on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your Gloade was you, Gloade was you, Gloade.
That's the challenge.
take somebody to,
Better grab your tickets, somebody else. Yeah. Make sure they win.
yeah.
Sander.
I'll show you. I can visualize.